Hello, my astrology friends. This is Lada from AstroladaOfficial. And today, my guest is astrologer, evolutionary astrologer Mila, who is going to share her insights, her downloads, her channels as well, her cosmic downloads, which are always very uplifting about Cancer, Jupiter in Cancer, it just went in Cancer at on the 8th of June or 9th of June, something like
Yeah.
that, and it will stay there till next July, almost 2026. And by the way, just to let you know, Mila is offering to all our viewers 20% discount on all her readings. If you resonate with the way she presents information in your heart, if there is a connection, I'll put a link below in the description to contact Mila. Hello, Mila. I can't wait to hear your insights on Jupiter in Cancer.
Thank
Well,
you,
you
Lada.
told me that Cancer is the womb, and it is, of course. How can you describe it? You were saying that like a birth expansion for humanity. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I really feel that because Jupiter currently is the core rule of the North Node. Traditionally, North Node being in Pisces, is ruled by Jupiter. Pisces traditionally was ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter now going into Cancer, which is the sign of his exaltation, is helping to expand the consciousness. And what's been coming up very strongly for me in the past year when Jupiter was in Gemini was like, in order for us to truly go beyond the limitations of the current matrix, which of course now we know with Saturn that moved into the sign of Aries, we know we have one more retrograde into Pisces, but Saturn in Aries, Neptune in Aries, Neptune being the totality, the source, co-ruler of the North Node, we're going in a whole new direction over here. And also obviously Pluto in Aquarius, next month Uranus in Gemini, and now we have Jupiter in Cancer in a sign of his exaltation connected to this, all of this, North Node and all of this that's going on. And it is the completely new trajectory for humanity. So Jupiter in Cancer, because Jupiter also, some people from mythology perceive as Zeus, the god, the god of the Olympus, right? And Jupiter being the sign of his exaltation in a Cancer is, to me, the way I perceive it, like a complete rebirth of identity of how humanity presents itself, like how individuals, because it's obviously like the collective is made of each and every single one of us, the human collective consciousness, and every single person I know, and it doesn't matter what you got going on in your chart, whether young and you have your Saturn return and you have Pluto square like me, or you have Uranus opposition or Chiron return or whatever you got going on, everybody's affected in some way, because Jupiter is our perception of reality. It's in a sense our consciousness,
Mm.
because at the moment also, like I said, coral of the North Node, still currently with being squared by Jupiter, the nodes are being squared by Jupiter out of sign already and out of like still within the orb technically. And the resolution is the North Node in Pisces, which is about this new trajectory for humanity where we are transcending, which is very Piscean archetype, the limitation of the matrix. Because with the Saturn in Aries, Neptune is the source, is the totality, is the spirit. And in Aries, and now literally yesterday, Mars moved as the ruler of Aries, moved into the sign of Virgo, and Mars is going to have a conjunction with the South Node. So there are a lot of adjustments that are going on at the moment for humanity with this pressure, because actually, as we're recording this today, Jupiter is squaring Neptune. This is the first quarter square since the conjunction in 2022. So there is this first quarter square, and we are being pressed. Us as a humanity, we are being pushed into change. Something has to change. Also, Pluto being retrograde in Aquarius, things are accelerating with regards to how fast we're moving ahead. This is all preparation for Uranus as the ruler going into Gemini. So humanity is presented with a lot of choices as we are exiting Gemini season. We're recording still this the Gemini season, just about the final degrees. Sun is on an Aquarian degree of a decan of Gemini. So we are building up towards the new moon in Cancer, which is going to be conjunct Jupiter. And we have the opportunity to decide who do you want to become going forward, because us as a humanity are going in a completely new direction. Not everybody came here to co-create the new. Some came here to, that's their role they play, come here to represent the tradition, represent the other system, be the contrast. But everybody has a choice. And as we are exiting the Gemini season with Jupiter now in Cancer, Mars in Virgo, which is where the South Node is, we have the opportunity to learn and choose something something different. We don't have to. We have a free will choice, but
Yes,
we
because
can.
I was gonna say the square Saturn Neptune with Jupiter, it's small of what we've always been choosing. Another war started now, and it's instead of choosing something new, the whole world is getting up in arms, choosing this area, Neptune, Saturn, the low vibration of war, and it's yeah, it is concerning. But hopefully, on an individual level, we have a choice to make better uh, choice, basically, to choose to be, like you said, like a rebirth in a better direction.
And this is really, that's why I feel is the Cancer, because Cancer, we know, is in the southern hemisphere of the chart, the fourth house traditionally, when we look at the like natural zodiac of Cancer fourth house, the southern half of the chart, which is your inner world. And then we know that the Cancer comes in opposition with Capricorn. They come as a couple, right? Cancer, Capricorn. So in order for us to create a different external manifestation of the reality, it has to change from within. We're not going to change the world from outside in. We're going to change it from inside out. So I feel with all these very low manifestations of the after effects of the Piscean age, including the wars and including this sense of for many, complete hopelessness and disempowerment. And it's all just like like what is the point to everything? Loss of meaning, with Neptune now in Aries, it's like the old lost meaning. Like people are grabbing onto the old things, the things that held the meaning before, that gave us satisfaction and sense of fulfillment. And now everything lost meaning. It's like, what was the point to everything? Because with these evolutionary planets, and not just obviously Saturn, Jupiter, the outer planets, but the evolutionary planets changing signs literally one after the other, like within a year. This is a crazy, crazy shift for humanity, which it doesn't matter how we look at the cycles of like, oh yeah, we had Pluto in Aquarius, oh yeah, we had Neptune in Aries, oh yeah, we had Uranus in Gemini, but it never happened like this ever in the past. It never happened exactly like it looks at the moment. So this is a very new, so no astrologer can 100% predict how is this going to work out. Nobody knows. Like we can kind of think, oh yeah, it might go this way, this way. So with the Jupiter going into Cancer, this is part of this us being able to choose something different, and the way we're going to achieve it is from the inside out. And this is where the Cancer makes the inconjunction, the quincunx to Aquarius. We don't know, because that where we go in, that which we create in, has not yet been manifest. So you're not going to find the information out there. Even the AI can help you to gather information, but the true guidance comes from within. And that's what I feel this Jupiter for the next 12 months is going to help us to achieve, because Jupiter in Gemini was bringing such an overload of information that a lot of people were just like overloaded with their head, because with the Gemini, our thoughts. Yes, a lot of information with ChatGPT becoming everybody's best friend, kind of. A lot of people. So it's like so much information that people becoming overwhelmed, and it's like, in a sense, because the way that I experience spirit, that it works in a funny way, is that it gives you the extreme, it gives you the contrast. So then you can kind of like find a new GPS signal. So we go into certain direction, it gives you so much of it, then you're like, like when you are a kid and you eat too much candy and you get so like you get sick of it. You get sick of it. So you say, okay, how much more do you want? How far do you want to go with that until we go, no more, no more. I'm not going this way direction anymore. So with the Jupiter, because we know from the traditional astrology, we say Jupiter is like the Father Christmas. It rewards you. So everybody is excited about Jupiter transits. But from the evolutionary perspective, Jupiter makes you grow. It makes you grow. So yes, it gives you a lot of whatever you want, but it is not necessarily a good thing, because it say, well, are you ready for the next step? And with Jupiter now being the core role of the North Node, it's saying that, well, what holds the deeper meaning? Because yeah, you can have all the candy, you can have all the money, but if we will destroy the planet, then what you're gonna eat? The money? You're gonna eat the crypto? Like that's not gonna help you very much. So what we need is the higher level of consciousness. It's not just about the ability to manifest, but what is the consciousness behind the manifestation? So I feel with Jupiter in Gemini, we were learning to master the mind. With Jupiter in Cancer, we will have to learn to master our emotions. When we master these two things, you crack the matrix. You can do whatever you want. But at the moment, many of us we feel like our mind is a slave to something, like, oh my god, my mind is like my mind is in charge of my life, like I can't help myself, my thoughts are going all the time. And with the emotions, many of us, I'm not saying everyone, there are people who mastered these things already. It's like untrained toddler. We react like, oh, let me go and attack. We can see it on a political scene. I mean, it's a perfect comedy. I mean, it's tragedy, really. But when you look at the politician, it's like a children in kindergarten throwing things at each other. It's not the best representation of humanity in most cases. And then they react to each other, because with the Jupiter in Cancer, everything's gonna go into the extreme where we go like, is this really the best we can do? And because Cancer is the southern hemisphere, it has to start from the individual. And this is again where we get into this quantum field and into Pluto now moving, well, finished with Capricorn, Saturn now almost finished with Pisces, going back one more time, but almost finished. We have to go into this new direction of not just like, oh yeah, I'm going to blame everyone else. I'm going to blame my parents, my ancestors, our president, everyone for how screwed up this world is. Or I'm going to go, okay, well, what's going to change if I blame everyone for this? Like, nothing in my reality is really going to change. The only thing I can change is my life, my little ecosystem, and my response to the big world. So then what do I want to choose? So with Jupiter in Cancer, this is what we're going to be learning. This is at least my understanding. Obviously, there are multiple layers of looking at it, but the bottom line is the mastering of our emotions and choosing who do you want to become? Who do you want to become going
I,
forward? Because
I saw you have a tattoo of Cancer, don't you?
because I'm a Cancer moon.
Ah, so it's
Even
good.
though a lot of people think it's a 69, I'm like, no, it's not a 69.
Ah, Jupiter will be passing over your moon. Is it
That
gonna
is
be
correct.
settling down or getting pregnant?
Oh God. In my fifth house, yes.
And I also see Jupiter in Cancer. This is the most intuitive position. It's exalted Jupiter. Jupiter is intuitive,
Exactly.
knowing the answers effortlessly. And I think people will go more into this power of theirs. Speaking from evolutionary point of view, we can make a lot of, we've done on this channel many predictions of what it will bring externally, that Jupiter's Cancer rules families, the maybe politicians will start like, will do something that it makes it more affordable for housing for families. And we've done 100 positive predictions. There is a video on my channel about Jupiter in Cancer. But from a psychological and evolutionary point of view, I think this being in touch with the deeper meaning and knowing things intuitively, feeling intuitively what is right and what is the next step for you, for example. You don't have to read or study or research for information like with Jupiter in Gemini. uh, we had to. Now it will be in and knowing. You feel it here in your tummy, as they say. Cancer rules the stomach, the gut feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is perfectly correct, because yes, Cancer is the intuition, is one of the most intuitive signs. Of course, we know Moon as the ruler is it's in home there, and now Jupiter being under rulership of Moon for the next year is gonna be ups and downs. It's gonna be ebbs and flows, but that is the natural being. That is the natural being in the nature as well. We see, because now we are just about approaching solstice, and how the nature changes in the southern
Rhythms.
hemisphere.
It's like
Yeah,
breathing
exactly.
rhythms.
The natural rhythms, also like the water. We know that Cancer, the water is a water sign. We are 70% made of water. The planet is 70% made of water. So that there is, we are all influenced by the moon. Whether women obviously are much more aware of that than men, but because of our cycle. But everything in life is cyclical, and we know, especially if people still have like elders in their life, that they can see how the cycles in the humanity. We go up, then we go down, then we go up, then we go down. So it's also and also if people, healers and people who've done a lot of healings of themselves, they know it comes in layers. You will never heal. I don't know. For example, in my case, my situation with my parents, or for many people that could be the case. It never gets healed in one go. It's like always layers. Okay, next year you have a more awareness. Next year you have more of an understanding. Okay, you approach situation differently. Maybe another layer gets integrated. So with Jupiter in Cancer, it will be also about expansion through layers. Also, when Jupiter goes retrograde in November, and then it will be retrograde, and it will be again this inner processing. But it is about the intuition. It is about the calibration to this, what we call the rise of the divine feminine, which from
Mhm.
one perspective is about female, but, or, women, but from the other perspective is the receptive way of being guided through life, because that
Mhm.
to me is the main understand, because from the higher perspective, spiritual perspective, the sex is unimportant, female, male, woman body, male body, doesn't matter for the spirit, but the main understanding of the main way I understand that the rise of the divine feminine is not to be guided by the mind, by the logical mind, which is, like the it's the left brain, right? The left brain, I think, is the logical mind, the right brain is the intuitive mind. So it is not just about being guided by the ego and the data and the information, but also listening for the inner guidance, like you said, the intuition, what is your gut saying to you, and this way of living which is very cyclical and receptive, which is not like we were being told. I'm sure you were told, Lada, as well, because our generation, you need to have a 5-year plan, you need to have a 10-year plan, what do you want to achieve before you're 30, when you're going to get married, when you're going to have kids, blah 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 blah, all these like very masculine, like very plan, where the feminine is very receptive, like, okay,
Yeah, go
how
with
does
the
it
flow.
feel?
Yeah, respond to
Exactly.
life, and
Exactly.
it's very good actually that Jupiter is in Cancer when Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune and Saturn have entered masculine signs, which is again, you said the right brain, which is all about planning, organizing, attack, external stimulation. So this is pulling us more back a little bit to balance it out, Jupiter in Cancer, into this more feminine, receptive, creative side, gentle side. So it's actually quite good because imagine if Jupiter was also into some fire sign, and it
Next
will
year
go
in Leo.
next year. So
Yeah.
it's giving us a little bit of time, find your feet, so to speak, withdraw within, despite of all the other masculine energy, and feel, like you said, feel and mm, rest into it, flow into it, because after from next July, everything is masculine.
Apart from Chiron, Chiron will be in Taurus. That will be our saving grace. Chiron is the key
Yeah,
between
but
Saturn and
everything else
Uranus.
is in masculine size, which I love masculine energy, but it's too many changes and very fast it happens. And you need to be constantly catching up with the world behind, because it's moving, it's changing so quickly. This is masculine energy. And at least we have for a little bit still with Jupiter in Cancer, this I feel it's also very, because Cancer symbolizes, it's the bottom of the chart, and it's your foundation in a sense.
Yes.
And when you said healing, it's one of the most healing signs, Cancer. Jupiter in Cancer. I have seen many natural healers with Jupiter in Cancer, or people who, even if something really bad happened to them health-wise, they're able to overcome, heal themselves. So I really think there will be a lot of healing happening around, spontaneous healings. And very often, if doctor says, well, this is a disease you always have, or this is inheritary, you can't, once it's broken or once it will stay. And I've seen people with Jupiter in Cancer who are able to overcome spontaneously through the power of faith, because Jupiter in Cancer has
Yeah.
very strong faith, realigns somehow to the higher way of thinking, of perception. And I really think that it will be easier to heal than any other times. Well, maybe, when Jupiter is again in Cancer. But I've seen this, and uh, so that's what I'm trying to give, like a bit of hope for people who are in some maybe chronic pain or certain emotional pain, mental health, physical, that healing would it be like a dispensation of healing because of your beliefs naturally realigned to what is truthful.
Yeah, and it's also supportive of the North Node in Pisces, which is like
Faith again. It's,
but also like how we were made to believe that we are so limited, that we are just that this like this avatar, this costume, and that we have all these like identities that we were being, because that's all Cancer also, like our heritage, like heritage in a sense of our ancestor lines, our identities, in a, not as much now, but in the older day, you were born to this nationality, this family, this color skin, this religion, and that was
oh,
it.
it's still
Your
big.
life.
It's too big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was, but this is all I feel like it's going to slowly and slowly start shifting because, like I said, the in conjunction between the Cancer and the Aquarius, and currently Jupiter squaring the Saturn, squaring the Neptune. Obviously, once Jupiter moves into Leo, is going to be opposing Pluto next year, and then conjuncting South Node, Pluto will be conjuncting North Node. And for me, opposition is always about balancing. So that is yet to come. At the moment, is the in conjunction. But this is the thing. Like this is the year, and that's why I feel so strongly about this year, because it is the year number 9, which is, we know from tarot, the Hermit, which is Virgo, and we have the opportunity to close these cycles with Saturn for the last time in Pisces from September until next year February. We have the opportunity to close the old cycles, to close the karma, to say no more, no more. And again, it is an individual choice. Individual will decide, I am not doing this anymore. Like I always, and I mean, it's a joke, but not really a joke. I always say that if every single, man in the world would say, I am not going to kill another man, I am not, or a woman would, like, because yeah, obviously women don't start a war, because they would say, I'm not gonna go and send my son to die to kill somebody else's woman's son. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to a woman. Most women, I'm not saying, obviously not generalizing here. So that's what I mean, like with this Cancer archetype, which is your inner world. Who are you when nobody's watching, when you're alone in a shower and you don't have to be no one for nobody, and you don't have to put all these hats on and all these identities and titles? Who are you, and who are you choosing to become? So I feel with everything else that's aligned in the sky right now, this really is the year where we can make the choice that yes, this is who I was, this is where I came from, this is what I did, but it doesn't define the rest of my life. I can make a new choice now. So with the North Node in Pisces currently, being squared still by Jupiter as its ruler, what do we choose to release and let go of? And yes, we cannot control the global stage. There are these, and we know that there are things that we can control. There are things we can't control. Things that are happening on a global scene. They are like collective contracts. They are collective contracts to create certain energy to, I guess, push us into certain direction. But there are things I can control. There are things I can't control. So in my world, in my Cancer world, the things that I can control, what am I going to do with them?
Private
Which is
world,
like
yeah.
with Cancer, self-nurture, self-care. How many
Mhm.
people do give to themselves what they really need, and then they want it from the external world, the Capricorn, then they give their power away to whatever out there structures that I want you to now nurture me, to give it to me, because I don't know how to give it to myself. So this is another aspect of the Jupiter in Cancer. It will make us to start taking care of ourselves, not just our emotion, but our well-being, and then we are less dependent on the structures or someone out there that might not have your best interest as a part of your best interest.
Mhm.
And this is also where I feel very strongly soul families are coming together. People are coming together who are in a resonance, who have the same yeah, like you said, want to create the same foundation. The foundation is important because we have the Taurus Cancer sextile, but it's also like we are creating a foundation of a new earth. And it's, yeah, everybody has a role to play. People gonna come together. We know that the the reason why this role is still such a mess is because the shadow players, they work together. They might not like each other, but they work together. They know that they are into the same goal. So the same way, people who, whatever is their vision, again, Jupiter, Pisces, whatever is your vision that you want to bring into manifestation, you have to come together with people who support you in that vision, not pee in your parade and say like, nah, that's not possible. So with the Jupiter in Cancer, with exaltation, is going to make us want to dream bigger. Like, what
Yes.
would make me happy? How do I what is that feeling I want to experience? I already have to know what it feels like in order to manifest in my reality. This is all this work with the quantum field and stuff, and that's the only way to transcend the current what is. The manifestation, the Capricorn, the what is right now. That is the outcome of the past, that already was, because the manifestation process, the physical manifestation, like anything, like the laptop, that is the last stage. Like somebody had to come up with the thought and create it, and all the articles that had to come into it and distribute it and blah blah blah. I have to earn the money, and then you go and buy a laptop, or somebody delivers to you with the Amazon or something. So the physical manifestation is the last one, and it's also the last one that will go. So potentially, by the time Jupiter goes back into Cancer next time, which is the time when actually Neptune will go into Taurus, 2038. I had the chart ready. That's the next time. Jupiter will go back into Cancer 37, 38, and 38 is the year when Neptune goes into Taurus. So this is potentially when we experience a lot of this form to be gone, so like, because everything happens in layers. The world is not just going to crash tomorrow, and that's a good thing, because with the form being, and also in Tarot Pentacles being the slowest moving suit, it takes time. But the same way, this manifestation we want to bring into form, the vision, the dreams, the desires, it will take time. But you have to believe it. You have to believe it. You have to believe it unquestionably, and not allow someone to take your dreams away, that it is going to happen. Because, and that's another word connected to Jupiter, like you said, the faith, but also the hope, the trust. If we lose that, then yeah, then we're doomed. We're
But
doomed.
we'll have right now the hope and the faith is a bit lacking because Jupiter is squared by Saturn. But that's actually
Yeah.
the toughest part of Jupiter in Cancer for the next 12 months. After June, from July 1st, August onwards, Jupiter is not going to make any more hard aspects. And actually, even the political world situation will calm down. And it's almost like a test of our fate right now, this June and into July, a bit because of Jupiter Saturn square, and test of our fate for our future, for the world. But don't worry, because the further we go into Jupiter in Cancer, so from August onwards, and especially this whole autumn in the northern hemisphere, October, November, December, Jupiter is in trine with Saturn. They're holding the trine for 2-3 months in a perfect, trine. So the manifestation part that you talked about, I think it will be more and more possible as Jupiter progresses into Cancer. And because Jupiter is its strongest, one of its strongest position in Cancer, I can even make a prediction from a more material point of view that actually a lot of people's dreams or can come true during Jupiter in Cancer, because Jupiter for the last couple of years was very weak in Taurus and in Gemini, where its ability to bless, to give things with ease, it's weakened. And when it's in Gemini, all our fate passes through our head. That's not fate, like you said.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And in Jupiter in Cancer, it's really, if you really want something and you feel it, because Cancer is feeling, and you feel
Yeah.
like you deserve it, and you feel you can have it, manifestation can be like magical. It can happen, but I think further now it's not so easy to manifest with Jupiter square Saturn. It will come later when they
And
start trining each other and so on.
But also Jupiter will trine the North Node as the rule, currently
Yeah.
still squaring, but it will trine the North Node. So
Oh.
that is a blessing. But I feel like what you're describing, from the second half of the year, of course, we're then going to have the Saturn Neptune retrograde back into the sign of Pisces. And also Uranus will be already in Gemini. Of course, it's going to go also retrograde and then back into Taurus. But this is also what many channelers that I've listened to are tuning into, that from July, when Uranus goes into Gemini, we have the opportunity to already tap into the frequency of 2026. So you
Mhm.
don't have to wait. You don't have to wait for the whole world to, like be aligned, for this to take place in your life. You can already tune into that frequency yourself. And it's, the key component is that now we have to learn to master the mind, to shut up the brain and say, oh yeah, brain has all the evidence about how it's not going to work out, because let me show you how it happened before, right? So we have to be able to quiet the mind. That's why these spiritual practices are so essential. Like it's not like not negotiable anymore. It's essential. But and it looks differently to different people. It's not just everybody has to sit under the tree or something. But so with the quiet in the mind, but the emotion, the feeling is the most important component of manifesting process. And that's why, and the people in charge of the world, they know that. That's why they show you all these things in the news, because they want to bring the emotion for you to
Yeah.
help they manifest what they want to
Yeah,
manifest.
fear, anger.
Exactly, division, and everybody is against you, and
But
the world is so unsafe and
But I
stuff.
think there'll be a lot of healing. First, Mars was in Cancer for 6 months since last,
Yeah,
what was it, September?
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's
exactly.
very emotional. Everyone was like, people are fighting because of different, especially things that they take personally. It was emotionally tense. Even the nicest families, they were fighting. I mean, and now Jupiter will heal that, will heal family wounding, family patterns that you talked about, ancestral, or if there was some breaking down of the communication in the family or well wishing. I think there'll be a lot of healing, not yet because of the hard aspects of Jupiter, but further and further into uh,
But I feel it's like, because as I said, with the spirit has a funny way sometimes how to achieve something. Because yeah, because in a sense, it's like, if everything was easy, it's kind of like offense. Because like we can do so much better, so much bigger. So of course now Jupiter comes into Cancer, and we have all these hard aspects because it's the contrast. It
mhm.
because contrast is still, it has a value. It is necessary for us to see we outgrown this. We don't have to do this anymore. We've been doing this for thousands of years. And yeah, thousands of years ago, we were cheering going into war because that was the time we were living in, and that was the level of consciousness, no judgment. But we now transcended that. Now we don't want that. We want something different. Most people want peace. So that's why we experience, this contrast, because with the Mercury was the former rule of Jupiter, and they had the last conjunction, second conjunction in Gemini on 29 degrees, just like Mercury and Neptune had their final conjunction in Pisces on 29 degrees 59 minutes. So there are a lot of these 29 degrees going on. North Node being in Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac. There is a lot of that. And year 9, again, year 9, there's all these things that are showing us the totality, that we've outgrown this. It's time to grow beyond this. It's time to transcend it. It's trying to go beyond these identities. Like someone like my parent generation would say, "Oh no, it is always wars always where there always will be people were always bad. People always will be bad." And I'm like, that could be somebody's narrative, doesn't have to be everyone. It is not the universal truth. We can choose, do I want to believe that or not? Like I remember when I traveled with the cruise ship, when I traveled the world, and my parents were scared everywhere I go, and I literally was like, that doesn't even cross my mind that could happen. So that's what I mean. Like, we living on the same planet, but people experience in reality very differently. So do you choose to be and the choice is again the imperative word to use. Do you choose to believe that this world is going to proverbial shit, and we are going to kill each other, and it's gonna be over? Or do you believe, oh no, we actually rebirthing, and we're going to create a completely different world, which is going to beyond anything that's ever been experienced on this planet? And again, it's a choice, because Sagittarius, it's a mutable sign. Gemini, it's a mutable sign. And we are still in a Gemini season with the Sun on Aquarian Decan. So, what is the choice that we are making under the pressure of the Jupiter square Saturn and Neptune, first quarter square, which is the crisis in action? It's making us to take an action, to do something. And the question is, who do you want to become? How do you want to feel? Do you trust yourself to be guided into a different way of experiencing reality? Because all of these things are stories. What I'm saying is just my perception. What Lada is sharing is her perception. You can choose to believe it or not. It's up to you. Nobody can say this is the 100% universal truth. The only thing that's truth is the universal truth, which is applying for everyone. But everything else is just a perception. So whatever is going on out there within our microcosm or microcosm, the global stage, we can choose what do we want to do with that information and how do we want to perceive it. And then based on that, a new story will be created, or the same story. So now we are in the after effects of this full moon in Sagittarius, which just happened last week, literally a week ago, and we are building towards new moon in Cancer. So the new timelines were born with the Gemini new moon, with the illumination of and it's interesting because the new moon in Gemini was the first lunation with Saturn in Aries, and the full moon in Sagittarius was the first lunation with Jupiter in Cancer. Just like last year, the new moon in Sagittarius and the full moon in Gemini were the first new moon and full moon with Pluto back in Aquarius. So again, we can see a pattern. It's all a matter of choice. Where do you want to go with these timelines and this opportunity to break free from the pattern and transcend what is? And the brain will fight you. The brain will fight me. My own brain is fighting me. Like, you talking rubbish, look at the state of the world. But the only way to go beyond it is to shut the mind and go like, hey, listen, we don't need the archive of the past for this one, okay? There is that you have a role to play, but it's not this one. So then you have to go into your higher mind, which is all this Jupiter, Cancer, Pisces. You have to tune into your higher self for the guidance for what is not yet manifest.
Thank you so much, Mila. That's very beautiful and very soothing to hear. Especially in those times when everyone is looking, is the third world war gonna explode any moment? Let's hope that we collectively make a choice from the stand of Jupiter in Cancer, which is, it is compassionate, it is much more loving, and it's full of hope and love. So hope and faith. So thank you so much. Again, if anyone wants to connect to Mila, I'll put the link below in the description. She's offering 20% discount on her evolutionary astrology readings, and she does a lot of channeling as well during the reading. So you'll get some special messages from you as well. And Jupiter in Cancer now, I'm quite certain your intuition is even more precise.